Hi, everybody.
Hello. Hello, hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Hello, hello.
Hi. How's everybody doing this morning?
Wonderful.
Yay.
Not bad for a rainy day.
So we're just gonna take a few minutes and let people filter in. Hey, Tiffany, good to see ya. Hey, Renee.
Hello.
Hello.
Still have people popping in. Hi, Esther. Welcome. We're just getting started here. We still have some people joining in. All right. I am just going to start by doing a little bit of housekeeping. Hi, everybody. Welcome to OBM Unscripted. We've got a great Ask Me Anything today. So I hope you guys all came with questions. We do encourage you to ask questions. So if you just hit the raise hand button, we'll let you ask Ayesha anything that you want in regards to her OBM experience. Um, so we're really lucky to have her today. As you know, she's been through two different OBM schools, and she's going to tell us a little bit about the experience for both. And I do have my two co-hosts on with me, Maniba Brooks and Christy Beard, who will also be popping in and asking questions. So thank you guys so much for joining. Um, Let me welcome Ayesha. How are you doing this morning?
Very good, thank you. Although it's 5:30 here in London, so getting on for evening time. But yes, I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Yeah, we're super excited. Um, I'm going to jump right in. So tell us a little bit about what got you started to pursue your OBM journey in the first place.
Yeah, good question. So I had sort of reached a crossroads in my career. I had always been employed, but I kind of knew that I've just turned 50. So I was at that point in my life where I knew I wanted things to change. I knew that something had to change kind of in my lifestyle and my working commitments. And so like a lot of people during the pandemic, I worked exclusively from home, which really suited me, it suited my lifestyle, suited my home commitments. So, a bit of background, I live with my sister and her two little ones. So one is 2 years old and the little one is 3 months old. So slightly chaotic household at the moment, but I need to be at home more to help her with the childcare. So I knew that that sort of lifestyle worked better for me. And in the UK at the moment, I don't know if it's the same elsewhere, but there's a real push at the moment to get people back into the office 5 days a week. This sort of hybrid model of working part-time at home and part-time in the office is not being tolerated anymore. So there is a real push to get people back into the office, and that just isn't for me. I don't want to do that. So I kind of knew that I wanted to work for myself. I wanted to build a business, something that I could be proud of, something that was mine, and that I had built myself. And I didn't know what that was going to be. I'd never even heard of the term OBM until about a year ago, actually. So this time last year, I sort of started researching what I could do. in terms of building a business, and I looked at being a VA, but didn't really feel that it sort of aligned with my skill set. But then I came across by chance the term OBM, and I was like, oh, I'll have a look at this. And the more I researched it, the more I just kind of felt like this, this is something that I could do. This is something that I feel resonates with me. And um, online business manager is not well known in the UK and Europe. I think it has originated much more in North America. And so when I tell people I'm an OBM, I just get a blank. I just get a blank face. I'm like, they don't know what I do, or I have to do quite a lot of explanation. So I think it is growing, but still, I do have to kind of explain what I do. So I think for me, just going back to your question, it just works for where I'm at in my life right now. I just wanted to be master of my own destiny and not be beholden to someone else's timings, someone else telling me how much I can earn. Um, and yeah, and just wanted to have that direction for myself, really. And so that's where I'm at. And as I said, I'm very new to the business world. I literally just set up my business before Christmas. So it's very early doors for me at the moment. I'm just finding my way. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
I don't think you're alone in the OBM world and that being a well-known thing over there. It's very new over here as well. And like
Mm,
I didn't realize it was a thing until about a year and a half ago. So I don't think that's um, a European thing for sure.
okay. Yeah, fair enough.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, we spend a lot of times explaining what an online business manager does. So,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't think I've got my elevator pitch down yet. It's
gotcha.
not too long. I have to work on that.
So tell us which two OBM programs you went through and
Mhm.
tell us a little bit about why you picked those particular ones.
Yeah. So initially I was looking for something that was UK based, and actually the program that I went with, which was Thrive, it's called Thrive OBM Academy, run by Amanda Hyde Pierce. She was the first UK OBM trainer. Um, and since then, since actually finding her program, there are others now that are in beta testing. So there are other programs out there, but hers was the only UK-based one that I had found at the time. And so I did her program, and I also did OBM School, which is run by Sarah Noked. And just to say as well that I'm not endorsing or recommending any program. I'm just, telling you my experience really of how I found them both. So I did two programs. It wasn't my intention to do two. And actually it was kind of a crazy thing because I did them at the same time. I didn't even do them like concurrently. I did them at the same time. So yeah, it was just something inside me was kind of like nagging me that I should kind of look elsewhere as well. And I'm quite impulsive. I can be quite impulsive when I'm buying things. And once I had decided that that's what I was going to do, I sort of couldn't almost talk myself out of it. And so I just decided to go for it. I had the time, I wasn't working at that time. So I had the time to put into it, and it was intense. It was really intense. I mean, those of you who know um, what OBM school, or even I can see Karen online as well, she did the Thrive program with me. So either one of those programs on their own, they're intense, they're rigorous programs. They require a lot of brain power, and they require your time and your concentration. So to do that times two, it was a lot, I'm not going to lie, and to do them at the same time as well. But in hindsight, I think it was the right decision for me. Um, because I felt that there were gaps in my skill set and my knowledge that I needed to plug. And so doing 2 programs for me was the right decision, but you don't necessarily have to do that. I mean, you don't have to do that. It's just something that I did personally.
So, was there a point in either of the programs where you were gaining knowledge in one that helped you in the other, possibly? Or
Yes,
was it just 2 very different ways to train?
both. I think so content-wise, both programs are very similar. Okay, they both give you the skills and the background and the grounding to become an online business manager. There's no doubt about that. What was different was the delivery, of those programs. So, for example, with Thrive OBM Academy, there is live group teaching every week. So you're in a small cohort. I think she takes on perhaps 4 or 5 people at a time. I was in a group of 5, but I think normally she takes 4. And there are weekly sessions. So if you kind of resonate with doing those live sessions every week, then that's a great way to train. Um, and the other thing I really liked about Thrive was the capstone. You do something called a capstone project, which is essentially, I think it's between 5 and 7 mini projects that you do um, within a 2.5 week period. So you have a set time period to do it. You have several projects, and you have access to the client. So what she does is she sets up a Google sheet, and you can ask questions as if you were asking the client questions about, because normally you would have access to the client to be able to ask them things that you're not clear about. So it's as real life simulated as it can be. And you can ask questions on this Google Sheet. Everybody can see the same responses that she gives. And it just gives you a bit of a steer as to what you're supposed to be doing. And it's really great preparation for the certification week. So unlike OBM school, which does 3 kind of big, chunky, meaty projects that you've got to pass, the way that Thrive works is that they come under the umbrella of the International Association of Online Business Managers, which is run by Tina Forsyth. And what the capstone does is it prepares you for certification week. And certification week is 5 days, Monday to Friday. And it's basically like having an exam week. If you kind of take yourself back to school or university where you'd kind of sat an intensive set of exams, that's kind of what it feels like. So it's super intense. You get 5 projects to do in 5 days, and you have to submit everything by a certain deadline. So, for example, you might get a project on the Monday, which has to be submitted on the Wednesday. And then you'll get a project on the Tuesday, which also has to be submitted on the Wednesday. And then the Thursday one has to be submitted on Friday, etc. So you have different deadlines. And again, it simulates what you might have to go through in real life with a real life client as much as possible. And it's training you to be able to think on your feet, to be able to deal with time pressure, to be able to go and find answers quickly, to be able to pull on the resources and the networks that you have. So our cohort, which Karen was part of, we were all kind of supporting each other because it's really hard. And so when you do pass that certification week, the sense of achievement is amazing. But that said, even when you pass the OBM school projects, the sense of achievement and relief really is, I cried when I passed my projects because I just didn't think that I would, and I thought I would have to redo some elements of it. So I was really, really surprised and happy when I did pass. Sorry, I've rambled on a bit on that one.
Do,
So
do you feel like
Yeah. Did the certifications really kind of help your confidence going forward? Do you feel more confident in what your skills are? Are you more confident in speaking to people about what an OBM does and how you're projecting your value?
I think the skill that the certification week um, really gets really hones for you is you have to go and find the answers quickly. You don't have time to do research because your deadlines are so tight. You really don't have time to go away and do loads of research and go and ask people for advice and that sort of thing. So you've got to be quick off the mark. You've got to be kind of sure about um, and kind of have that conviction of what it is that you're recommending to the client. You've got to be succinct because, they have quite strict guidelines about how much information you can provide. It's got to be a one-pager or a two-pager, and you've got to get a lot of information in, not just on one page. So I think it's quite a unique skill set that it helps you to build. And yes, I think that really has helped me. I mean, I think all of it has helped me. There's no doubt about that. I think all of it has been valuable learning, and skill building for me personally.
I'm so amazed that you went through two programs at the same time. It's just
And to top that
my
off,
band. Yeah.
my sister was pregnant, 8 months pregnant when I was doing certification week, and I was just praying that baby wouldn't come early. I was like, please don't come through my exam week, um, because that just would have thrown everything up into the air. And luckily, he did arrive on time 3 weeks later. But it could so easily have been a different story. But yeah, no, it is. It was really hard, but I'm glad I did it. I'm really glad I did it.
So, if any other OBM or aspiring OBM was looking to go through two at the same time, or even one,
Yeah.
what would you recommend as kind of a survival kit for them, as they're going through their process?
Do your research. I mean, think about what your preferred learning style is, how you like to learn. I mean, both programs have pre-recorded modules, pre-recorded videos that you have to watch. But then with Thrive, for example, you get the live learning, so you can ask questions, and you can bounce ideas off each other on a weekly basis. So I found that really useful. But likewise with OBM school, you get a mentor, which is kind of personal to you, and you have access to that person for the duration of the program. You can ask them questions about your projects, and again bounce ideas. So I thought that was really, really helpful. In terms of a survival kit, I'd say um, the one thing that I found really useful about both programs is kind of building networks and having that community of fellow OBMs who you can bounce ideas off and you can talk to. And, I know with my Thrive OBM cohort, we ask each other questions all the time. How do you price things? How do you present this to the client? How do you have an example of a proposal? We're helping each other all the time because we're all finding our way, and we're all new to this. So I think having community and building networks is really key. But like I said, do your research. Both programs as well do kind of like a taster. So OBM School does OBM Week, and Thrive does something very similar, which is like 3 or 4 consecutive days where they do like a live webinar. Get a feel for the program, get a feel for the trainer, and see what their style is like. Have a look at the content. So, OBM School, as you'll know, like has an amazing systems vault. The resources are incredible. They make some of that available to you for free. Have a look at that. Have a look at the resources. Have a look at YouTube and see what they're talking about on the channels. because that all of those little things will give you pointers and will you'll just get a sixth sense, I think, of what draws you in. And then obviously from there you can make an informed decision, and obviously budget is a consideration as well. You've got to feel that you're getting value for money.
Do you feel like either program that you went through either built on the knowledge that you already had that you brought to the table, or do you feel like you learned that there was more aspects to being an OBM than you anticipated?
I think both programs reinforced each other for me. They complemented each other. So what I learned from one helped me in the other. So I was drawing on both because both programs offer different assets and different resources. And so I found I was picking and choosing from both and using that to help me with my projects and my work. Um, so from that standpoint, I think it was really, really useful. And every module that came out, it just reinforced the learning that I was having. Um, and I think I learned quite well that way. So for me, that was really beneficial. So what was the second part of your question?
If there were any aspects of being an OBM that you had not anticipated as far as things that you would have to do, tasks or things like that.
Kind of all of it, really. I didn't really, I mean, I had a basic understanding of what it means to be an OBM, but I certainly didn't really appreciate what was involved in terms of like, I had no idea what a launch was or what it involved or how much work is involved behind the scenes or, what tech is involved, and what you need to know, um, preparation wise to do a launch. So that was kind of, all of that was completely new to me. Um, and so, yeah, in a way, all of it was, I was sort of unprepared for. Um, but I just sort of went with it with an open mind. I knew that this is something that I want to learn more about and let me see where it takes me. I think that's the attitude I had.
That's a great attitude. So
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
if you were to create the ultimate OBM learning center, what were your favorite parts of each program that you would put into your own learning center?
Okay, I did make some notes on this. Okay, so if I was creating my own OBM certification program, this is what I would include. So I think AI obviously we can't ignore it. It's here, it's not even the future, it's the now. So how do we leverage AI to make our lives easier as OBMs and to make our clients' lives easier? I think that is going to be so crucial and so central to the work that we do going forward. The second thing is around data. So increasingly, I think clients are going to want to have data-driven decision making. They're going to want to see those metrics and they want to know how that informs how they should be running their business. So I think in one sense, that's where the programs that I did kind of stopped a little bit short. Um, they need to go a little bit further, in terms of implementation of metrics and KPIs and that sort of thing. So that's a change I would make. I think things like neurodiversity, um, and equality, inclusion, all of those things, climate change, all of those kind of bigger picture things need to inform clients' businesses, and OBMs need to be very much up to speed with those subjects. And in terms of practical stuff, I would really like to see like almost like work experience you know, like how when you're at, well, I don't know how it is elsewhere, but certainly in the UK, in your holiday time, you get to do work experience. You go into a company and you shadow someone. I would really like to see some kind of provision for doing real life work experience as an OBM whilst you're training. I'm not sure of the mechanics of it. I don't know how it would work in practice. It's just a kind of an idea at the moment, but something along those lines I think would be so valuable. Actually being able to work in a client's business, perhaps shadowing another OBM would be so helpful, would be for me, certainly. And then things like data protection. In Europe, we have GDPR, which we need to really understand because we're processing data all the time, not only for ourselves, but on behalf of our clients, and also sharing best practice. So in our cohort, in our Thrive OBM cohort, we do kind of talk about how we, you know, what we do and how we can share best practice. But I think that being part of the wider program would be really helpful. Again, I'm not sure the mechanics of how that would be implemented, but it's an idea. And presenting case studies, that's another one. So yeah, I think that's quite a lot, isn't it? I could probably do my own, could be a trainer, maybe in another lifetime. But yeah, those are the ideas that I had for if I was to design an OBM program, that's what I would be looking to put in it.
Those are some great things that you brought up. I as well would have loved to have been able to shadow a working OBM. Like,
Yeah.
I know I'm missing these skills. I know you have it. How do I zoom into your business for a day and see what you're doing so I can create my own implementation of it? Um,
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah, I
that
mean, I think there's a role there to be an OBM mentor, but like to have a mentoring agency or something like that.
mhm,
Um, you know,
for
if somebody
sure.
wants to go and do that, I'd sign up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Um, you also touched a bit on the neurodiversity and the inclusion.
Mm,
And I know that some of us had clients while we were going through school who were neurodiverse clients, and
yeah.
we had to brainstorm with each other to really try to figure out, okay, well, this is working for this person and this is working for this person, but just the resources we had as a group were just so valuable to us being able to put that forward in our OBM school.
Yeah.
So networking has really been a big thing for me, at least, even outside of getting certified.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, but part of the skill set of being an OBM is to go and look for the answers, right? To be solution oriented and to look for the answers. So, in a way, I think what you're describing is a really good thing. But I think there needs to be acknowledgement and some kind of inclusion in the programs for that as well, because not everybody's going to know. You know, what those conditions are and how we can work with people who have those conditions. I certainly don't. I need to be trained on that.
I agree. And to add to one other thing that I would put in a survival kit if I was putting together a program would be a lot of people that are coming into the online space are doing it in a similar way that I did, where you worked corporate and now you're online. And I think there's a gap between working with someone in person face to face and then working with them in the online space. And I think that is something that in my experience has been a missing feature in the OBM schools and the certifications. I've not seen that I know of in any of the ones that I've researched. So I think that is definitely something that is missing that would be beneficial for them to add.
Hmm.
You know.
Yeah, for sure.
So now that you have graduated with 2 certifications, what is your focus as far as, do you want a niche? Do you not want a niche? Are you networking to build clientele, or are you kind of finding those opportunities on your own through your current network?
So at the moment, I'm just formulating my offer for what my OBM services will be. I think at the moment it will probably be quite general. Maybe the niching will come later. I don't feel that that's the right route for me at the moment, but that might change. But yeah, generally at the moment it will be general OBM services, but I'm really just finding my way. I did have my first client today, and I did a breakthrough strategy session with her, so that was very exciting. And so now my task is to put together a 90-day priorities plan for her. So I'm busy kind of scrambling to, re-listen to all the videos and have a look at my notes again and all my notebooks to remind myself. It's amazing how quickly you forget these things, but just to kind of revisit those and make sure that I've got everything set so that I can do this plan for her. So I'm kind of open to all avenues at the moment. I'm not closing myself off to anything. I don't think that niching down at the moment is the right avenue for me. But like I said, that might change in the future. I'm sure it will change in the future, actually. So yeah, watch this space.
What are your favorite parts of being an OBM right now?
The freedom to be my own boss, the control that it gives me over my own lifestyle, not having to be answerable to anyone. I sound like a petulant child. Yeah, I think that's what it is. If I need to take some time off to do something, personal, I can do that. So long as I am working for my clients and doing my best for them, it doesn't matter when I work. I can work on the weekends, I can work in the evenings. I don't have to check in with anyone. I don't have to clock in. All of those things for me, at this point in my life, they're priceless. Um, because I know what means to have been on the other side, if you know what I mean. So I've worked for organizations where, that's not been the case. And I don't want that for myself anymore. So I think for me, it's about having the freedom, and that's ultimately what we want to give to our clients as well, right? We want to give them balance. We want to give them the freedom to do what they want to do in their lives. So I feel like there's this kind of domino effect going on as well. And so I'm excited. I'm excited to see where this journey takes me. I don't know if this will be my career forever. I've changed careers 3 or 4 times already since I started working. So I think so long as you can demonstrate your transferable skills to a client or to a future employer, you shouldn't really worry about, pivoting if that's what you need to do. So who knows? I might do this for the foreseeable, but maybe not for long term. I mean, I hope I can retire before long, but that's kind of another conversation, really.
It is. So was there anything unexpected in the certification programs that really said, wow, that just blew my socks off. I'm so glad they taught this.
I think one of the interesting things that I did in the Thrive program was around coaching conversations. I think that was probably the only thing that doesn't feature, if memory serves me rightly, it doesn't feature an OBM score. But coaching conversations was an interesting one because it's around having difficult conversations with the client. And how do you approach that? How do you sort of position it? So for example, is the team having difficulties because the client is just all over the place? Or is the client losing money hand over fist because um, they just can't make a decision and stick with it, you know? So it's about how do you approach those kinds of conversations. And actually in certification week, one of our assignments was to actually role model a coaching conversation with a difficult client. So they give you a scenario and then you have to kind of play that out and actually write out a script of how you would approach it. And you've got to be obviously diplomatic, as much as you can be, but also quite forthright in terms of what you want to try and achieve, because it's almost you've got to help the client get to the point that they need to get to. So I think that was interesting. Not easy, not easy to find the right approach. Um, and you have to really tune into what kind of a person, what kind of a leader your client is, and kind of that emotional intelligence piece really comes into play there, because you've got to understand a bit of sort of human psychology, really. So I found that really interesting, and that was probably the only thing that didn't feature in the OBM school program that I can think of.
I
I
think that
love
really,
that.
oh, sorry,
Yeah,
Christy.
go ahead.
I
Go
think
ahead.
that really ties into what you said earlier about neurodiversity and being aware of different things that people have and how people tick. Because when I see a situation like that, I need to know who my client is, how their brain works, before I can formulate a plan on how I can get their buy-in uh, to, implement these changes in their business. So that definitely ties in.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's about understanding how people tick, and being able to sort of hone in on that and using their language, using their words, and their style almost, to get the best out of a relationship.
Yeah, I love the idea that they did that, because as OBMs, we are so many different things to our clients. We are the administrator of a lot of things. We manage, we coach, we consult, we implement, but being able to, a lot of the resistance that I've noticed from clients is mindset shifts, where they're so used to wearing all the hats. They're so used to doing everything themselves. And so they've had to learn a lot of things along the way. And so they can be resistant to somebody coming in and say, oh, no, 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 you need to do it this way. And here's why: it's way more efficient, less streamlined. And they're like, well, wait, are you saying everything I've built is for nothing? So you do
Yeah,
have resistance, and I think that's a great, um, it's a great add to the program to acknowledge that that is something as an OBM that you will have to go through. It's not an if, it is definitely a when. And to be able to have already like talked your way through a scenario like that, that's very, very helpful. Yeah, I love
yeah,
that idea.
yeah, because it's a soft skill, right? It's kind of not the hard skills that you need to learn to be an OBM. It's more of the softer side, your interpersonal and your communication skills. And you're right, business owners do become very entrenched in their own way of doing things. Um, and it's about how you help them to see a different path, not
Yeah,
necessarily the path that you think, but the path that is best for the business.
right.
Um, yeah, yeah,
And even to play on what Maniba said, you almost are a salesperson too. You have to sell them on your idea and why it's better for the business or better for their their growth or scaling or whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. So yeah, it's just another hat that we wear as OBMs that we take from our clients. So
Mm,
yeah, I think that's a great thing to add for sure.
yeah.
So was there anything when you were going through these two programs I know there was for me, was there a moment that you said to yourself, what have I gotten myself into? And was there any kind of, I don't think I can do this, or anything that kind of came early on in your experience with those schools?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. I mean, I mentioned that I cried when when I passed my OBM school accreditation. I also cried at the beginning. And in fact, I remember being on the phone to my brother, um, and just bursting into tears because I was like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know if I can do this. This is just so. I think it was after I received my first project that I had to do. And I was just so totally overwhelmed and just didn't know where to begin. Um, and, it's kind of all that emotion just comes flooding out of you, isn't it? And you just need someone to say, right, okay, let's be logical about this. Let's think about how we would approach this. And I, I'm not afraid to say he helped me. He helped me kind of map out what I needed to do. I think it was a recommendation project. And the thing that fazed me was that it was recommending tech tools, which I know nothing about. I would definitely say it's my weak point as far as any of the OBM sort of training that I've done is the tech. Um, it does frazzle me. And so he helped me work that out. And actually, when I got my feedback, because you get feedback after each one, the feedback wasn't great. It wasn't great. And the type A person in me that always likes to do everything perfectly was like, okay, I don't like this. I don't, I'm not happy that I didn't get my A star pat on the back. I need to do better. I need to try harder. And I did. I did try harder and I did do better. And after that, I found my way. And each project, the complexity and the kind of difficulty rating, it just kind of increased. But once you've got the skill, then you kind of apply that to every single one. And it just becomes that little bit easier and that little bit easier. But yes, absolutely. In the beginning, I was totally overwhelmed. Um, and doing two, you can imagine I was overwhelmed times two at times.
Yes.
I really didn't know whether I was coming or going. So don't do what I did.
So anybody that's considering going through an OBM program, what factors would you say that they need to look for when considering a program? And then what should they do to prepare to go through a certification program?
I'm not sure that there's any preparation as such. I mean, I think like I said, you need to figure out what is your best learning style. Um, you need to look at who's running those programs and whether they kind of resonate with you. In terms of preparation, I would say just go with an open mind. At the end of the day, you are putting in a hefty financial investment. These programs are not cheap, so you need to be comfortable that actually you're putting your trust and your time into an organization and a person who's running that, who really knows their stuff, who knows what they're doing. So, like I said, research people online, like, watch their YouTubes and see what they're saying, follow them on the socials. And yeah, it's like how you would go into anything really. You just don't do it blindly. Um, and sometimes it is hit and miss. Sometimes it's not the right program for you. I think certainly with OBM school, if it's not working for you after a certain period of time, you can get a refund if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that. Um, but there was one point that I gave some feedback to OBM school about something that I thought could have been done differently and better. They were really open to it. And they said, yes, we'll discuss this. So you can only hope then that they take that forward for future cohorts. But I'd say mainly just do your research.
Does anybody else in here have any questions? I feel like I've kind of commandeered the conversation, but please jump in, ask Ayesha some questions if you have a question.
Is there any skill that you learned about through either of the courses that you did that you feel like you would like to incorporate in your offerings in the future that you you're not as comfortable with now, or that you maybe didn't know about before taking the certifications?
I think, as I said, for me personally, it's the tech. It's the thing that I feel is my kind of weakness. And so I'm just signed up for a ClickUp course. I'm trying to learn how to use a CRM. So, I'm supplementing what I feel the gaps are in my knowledge with other programs. I'm also doing a funnels strategy course. So, it's not, even though I'd say the two programs that I did were very thorough and broad, there's always going to be gaps where you feel that actually I need to supplement that with other training. And I'm personally a lifelong learner. I like to learn. I like that sense of achievement. And I'm a bit of a sucker for kind of, signing up to things and then I think, oh my God, how on earth am I going to fit this in? I've just signed up to too many things, but the programs obviously that you pay for, you know, you you have to sort of take that on and make that investment work for you. So I think for me, it's about learning the tech because it's something that I've never really had to do. When I've been employed, we've always used our own in-house systems. So that's what I used. I didn't have to use kind of off-the-shelf packages. So for me, there's no familiarity with project management tools and CRMs and calendar schedulers and all of that kind of thing. I just hadn't had any hands-on experience of that. So I would have liked, personally, I would have liked the programs that I did to perhaps encompass a bit more hands-on training as far as the tech is concerned.
Now we have a question from Tiffany, who's asking, do you feel the programs are worth the money? I did a program and I was personally disappointed.
It's I think it's quite subjective. Um, don't get me wrong, they are expensive. I think for me, yes, they were worth the money. But I've done programs which haven't been worth the money, and so I do understand where you're coming from. Um, I think you just have to take as much of it from the program as you can, and feedback where you feel that they are not perhaps delivering what you thought it might be. But yeah, I think it's a really subjective question. Personally, for me, yes, I think they were worth it. But having said that, I still need to earn that money back. So I've paid for it. I haven't made it good yet. So I need to make that money back for me to feel like, yes, that investment was definitely worth it.
I just want to elaborate on why I said that a little bit, because the program was comprehensive, but I found that it was just a lot of here's what you need to do, and kind of like what you said, more so than here's how you do it. So I would have
Mm.
appreciated a lot more, like you said, hands-on stuff. And that's what I was kind of expecting, even with the different like projects that we had to do. I just don't feel like there was more like, here's how to do this, like, or let's follow along, and here's how you do it. Here's exactly like, here's a framework that you can use in your first like 90 days or something that you can like. I just didn't find that, and that's why I was disappointed. So I guess it was more so I went in with different expectations of
Mm.
like I was expecting something different. So that's where my disappointment was coming from. So it's not saying the program wasn't good, it was just disappointing to what I was expecting, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. So perhaps their messaging didn't cover or wasn't good enough to kind of explain how far they go in the program. And yeah, no, I totally get that. I've done courses and programs where I've had that experience as well.
Yeah, I think a lot with the experience is I already came from an online space, so I was already familiar with what happened in an online space, so I had that framework together.
Mm.
But I know Christy was coming from in person, so she was kind of learning the online space, whereas I had an advantage. So that really helped with, especially with networking. She could ask questions. I could ask questions, especially if I had, a brick and mortar store that was wanting an OBM. Christy was the go-to. And even now, kind of like through our network, if I have a tech question, Maniba is the first person I'm going to. She's well resourced in tech. So keeping little communities like this one with other people that we could get information from or even share ideas from are super valuable. And that's why we put Unscripted together, because we wanted to network and hear what other people are saying and share those experiences.
As well as fill in the gaps, because we all have a different background. We're all coming from this at a different angle. And while I have 3 decades of experience with in-person business management, dealing with the online space, I mean, that was part of what I was wanting to, Tiffany, was more of the how to. And I've learned that in person, you ask your client, you need X, Y, and Z, and you're right there to get it. In the online space, you have to communicate via email or Slack or whatever your communication is, and then you have to wait for them to reply. And so you have to build all of this into how much time it's going to take you to do said task for said client. And so learning to maneuver things like that is a learning curve, even for somebody who's been doing this forever and a day. And so yes, that is some of the things that, one of the reasons that we've started this, is we're all coming from different places, and so we all have a knowledge base that we can help other people with. And so that's our goal for the unscripted community, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's so important, like I said before, just having community and having people that you can reach out to, vent to, bounce ideas off is so important, because, we are all working remotely, and it can be quite isolating. So having peers around you and colleagues who you can reach out to, I think is invaluable. And like you say, we all come from different backgrounds, we all have different experience. So, Maniba, I will be setting up a session with you to troubleshoot all of my tech needs, if that's okay.
Yeah, welcome anytime. Absolutely.
That's good to know.
All right, we have a few more minutes here. Does anybody else have any more questions that they want to ask Ayesha before we log off? The silence is killing me, y'all.
I know in these virtual spaces, sometimes you have to give people time to like type as well.
Tiffany, you alluded to a membership. Can you put that in chat or pop back on and tell us what membership you're talking about?
Yeah, I can do that. I just wasn't sure if I was allowed to, so that's the
Yeah.
only reason I didn't
Yeah,
drop the link.
yeah, absolutely.
I'll drop it in.
Thanks.
No problem.
We love resources.
Yes,
We'll
Yes.
always
thank you.
tap into everything, anything and everything. We'll take it.
For sure. Oh, goodness. Okay, well, Ayesha, thank you so much for joining us today. I know it's late where you are. This has been a great chat session. I really got a lot out of it. And I'm sure you've helped some people ask more questions. Oh, Renee's waving. What's up, Renee?
I
Oh
think
no, that
she's
was just claps for Aisha. They were just
Oh,
claps.
got it.
Thank
Eyes,
you.
they're getting old.
No, my pleasure. Thank you for asking me to be involved. And yeah, if you have any thoughts or questions after this session, feel free to message me. I'm on LinkedIn. And yeah, happy to help in any way I can.
and
And
I
while
think
I have everybody here, um, on the 26th, Aisha, I'm glad you brought up AI, but on the 26th, we're having a mastermind with Dave Heath, who is an AI expert. He has his own course, and we're going to spend an hour masterminding with him about prompts, how to scale your business with AI. We're going to have a lot of good stuff going on with him too. So everybody feel free to join us on that call. It's the same Zoom link, same time on the 26th.
Fabulous. And thank you for all the work that you're doing. And you know, I'm sure that this group is going to grow and grow.
We hope so. We love it.
we're partial.
Yeah,
And
great.
I believe you're going to put Aisha's info on in Facebook, right? Or is it there, all the links and stuff? Okay, so people can find you.
Yeah.
I
I've
don't
got,
have a website at the moment. I'm working on that, but yeah, certainly my LinkedIn. Um, just message me there.
perfect. All right. Well, I think that's all we've got, you guys. Thank you so much for joining us today. Everybody have a great rest of your week and feel free to reach out to any of us with any questions you've got.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thanks, y'all. Bye.
Bye. Bye.